Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I hope you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday. And today I'm really happy to have Aurora Winter. She's got an MBA. She's lives in Canada as well as California, and she is a creative entrepreneur. She's built seven-figure companies, and she's been featured on TV, radio, podcasts. She's also the author of Turn Words into Wealth. And so today's conversation is we're going to inspire, educate, entertain, inform, and spread good vibes and value to the audience. So, Aurora, welcome.
Oh, it's great to be on the show with you, and I look forward to giving the listeners practical tips they can use right away to turn their words into wealth.
Yeah, I really love that. And just start off, introduce yourself and how you got to where you're doing, and I'm excited to dive into the discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been a book lover since I was a kid, since I was 9 years old, and fell in love with the Narnia series by C.S. Lewis. And, loving books changed my whole life because anytime I hit a problem, I'm like, I'll go to the library. There's got to be a book, that's got a solution. It made me a lifelong learner and helped me so many different times when I launched different businesses in different industries. So my most recent nonfiction book is Turn Words into Wealth. So hopefully we'll get into that today. Some of the neuroscience of communication, and it's got a blueprint to build your business, brand, and book. And it shows seven different ways to make seven figures with your $1 million message. But I also write fantasy books. I've got Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, which won the Reader's Choice Award, Best Book for Teens. And if you go to Kickstarter, there's a box set with the whole trilogy coming out in a couple of months. So if you go to Kickstarter, you can find out about Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse as a box set. Perfect gift for a young adult.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, well, I'm really curious about the fiction part of your work and how it ties in. And I've always been interested in just kind of manifestation. And so talk about how, guarding your words and speech and your thoughts so that so that you can manifest what you're trying to achieve.
It is really important to visualize what you want to achieve and with as much positive emotion as is in integrity for you in that moment. You don't have to force it or BS yourself or others. But I had so much joy as a child reading the Narnia series. So I had joy writing Magic Mystery and the Multiverse. And I could see it I see what's happening like it's a movie. I'm a former television producer. And then I have to turn the movie in my mind, into a book. But what I found is, I launched multiple different businesses. Some I sold for six figures. I sold my first business for six figures when I was in my 20s, so that was cool. And I sold a business last year for six figures, so that was also cool. So I think, entrepreneurs solve problems at a profit, but nobody knows about us until we have a clear, compelling message about what we do. I call that your $1 million message. So that could be something surprising, like the power of vulnerability that Brene Brown talks about, or surprising, like the purple cow that Seth Godin talks about, or it could be, 1,000 songs in your pocket, as Steve Jobs talked about when he launched the iPod. But if we can distill into a clear phrase or sentence what we're up to, it helps attract the right people. So sometimes that's a book, sometimes it's a podcast like this. And I love helping people. My company, Same Page Publishing, that's what we do. We help experts and entrepreneurs, launch books that make a difference. Some of them are nonfiction books. So like Turn Words into Wealth or Marketing Fast Track or other books. Books can be a good lead magnet to let people know what you're up to. It can simultaneously attract your ideal clients and repel people who are not on the same page with you. And I've also helped one of my clients is a lawyer. His name is Michael Stockham. His first book is a legal thriller, as you might expect from a litigation attorney, Confessions of an Accidental Lawyer. It's got over 3,000 reviews on Amazon, 4.5-star average, something like that, 10 awards. He loved the process of writing that book with my support so much that we're working on 9 legal thrillers. And it's called the Jake Fox series. So the next book to come out in the Jake Fox series is coming out December 11th, just around the corner. And it's called Jake Fox Ties That Blind. So stay tuned for that. What do you like reading, Christopher? Are you a legal thriller, medical thriller, self-help, nonfiction, or fantasy reader, or something else?
Yeah, a lot of I'm an avid nonfiction, but I love recently I really enjoy historical fiction, economics, biographies, and anything. What I've really been interesting is kind of narrative fiction, like Chuck Palahniuk, just kind of talking about the problems in the world, and it's immersed with different fictional characters, trying to talk about these themes. So, um, what made you write a kind of a multiverse and also a nonfiction book? What was the impetus for
What
that?
was the impetus? Well, I've written about 10 books, and my nonfiction books are usually when I've solved a problem for myself, and then people say, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, "Well, I'd be glad to have lunch and explain it to you." And when I have enough lunches with people explaining to them, I think I should write this in a book so I don't have to repeat myself. So I wrote Turn Words into Wealth Blueprint for Your Business Brand and Book because more and more of my clients wanted to write books. They didn't know how to go about it. They didn't know how to go. Did they need a big agent? Do they need a big publisher? How do they go about writing it? How do they publish it? And I noticed, well, the data is that most first time authors spend 3.5 years writing the book. So that was a problem that I could help them solve. And the other thing that most first time authors do is they drop the ball right at the finish line. So I like to think of a book or a nonfiction book as an appetizer. It's not the whole meal deal, it's not everything that you know. It's just the beginning of a relationship. But if the book doesn't say what's the next step, then it's also the end of the relationship. So most first time authors don't understand that you know, writing the book, publishing the book, it's only the first step of looking after that baby. Once that baby is launched, you still have to get reviewers, apply for awards, continue promoting it. Because I think every book should have at least 100 reviews and it needs to have at least a 4 point star average. But that doesn't happen overnight and it doesn't happen without effort. Data show that the average reader who reads and finishes a book, 1% of them leave a review. And that same data show that people who don't finish a book, 0.7% of them leave a review, probably saying the book is too long or it wasn't for them, which is not helpful. They didn't even finish the book and they're leaving a review. So part of what I wanted to help people with is to understand that publishing a book is a business, or you can just publish it as a hobby if you want. But if you want it to be a business, then bake into the book to begin with what is the next step? So, for example, read Turn Words into Wealth. You can get a free copy if you go to turnwordsintowealth.com. And I will also give you an example of 5 free training videos. So, it's an example of a marketing funnel that you can be inspired with and you can copy and model. But that should also, and it's also, there's links in the book to get those videos. So, in the modeling how to do it, I explained, look, this is how one of my clients made 7 figures from her book. This a dentist, for example. When I helped them write their book, they grew their business from 1.5 to $6 million. Well, that was worthwhile, but it wasn't that they made millions of dollars from selling their book. It was that they made millions of dollars more because A, they got clear in their message. B, when they worked with me on their business strategy, we realized, you know what? Their marketing was all attracting the freebies who wanted the free consult or the free exam, but their expertise was they were very expert dentists and they were able to do implants and more advanced things. And they actually liked helping older people. And when we explored that, we discovered that the average person who's in their 40s or 50s could spend 10 or 20 times more than the average person in their 20s. So we wrote a book, or they wrote a book. I helped them write a book. I interviewed them, turned it into a book. Keys to a Healthy Smile After 40. So thinking about the strategy before you title your book or finish your book is also a key part. And then don't let the book just be stillborn. So many people press submit, they publish their book on Amazon, then they go into other things. But without effort, it doesn't attract the reviews and the readers that it deserves.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, because it's really interesting because you're an author, I'm an author, and one of those things is get people to buy the book first, and then majority of people are kind of like on Audible, or just kind of looking at podcasts or YouTube, and then it's another thing for them to leave a review, and it's usually the people that didn't like it, or that just kind of want to see you fail, that leave a it's just you have to kind of really actively promote it. So
Yeah, there's a whole process to doing that. It doesn't just happen by itself, like most books. There's so many books that if the average first-time author spends 3.5 years writing the book and then doesn't take any further action, they probably won't get, just their family will read it. Just
yeah.
their family will leave a review. Anyway, I'm a stand for books to achieve whatever the goal is. So, for example, Michael Stockham is my client with legal thrillers. His goal is like within 5 years to position himself as the next John Grisham. So that's his goal. So that's why we're writing 9 more legal thrillers. So he'll have a total of 10 books. And when you've got a whole bunch of books, then you can really consider yourself uh, having the opportunity to shift to a career. But just one book is not an author career unless you're James Clear and you write Atomic Habits or something like that. You really need to, if you want to be an author, full-time author, to have a plan for a series or sequence of books. And if you're a business owner, if your business involves some expertise, like you're a dentist or you're a lawyer or you're a doctor, you have some expertise, a little short book, just one, can be useful. So for example, this is a little short book. It's called Marketing Fast Track. You can get it for free if you go to turnwordsintowealth.com. And what I did is I wanted to pivot my business, and I pivoted from helping coach people who were dealing with a lot of stress and difficulty to helping people with marketing and messaging. So more and more people came to me and said, how did I get on so many TV shows? How did I write so many books? How did I launch so many businesses? And I let them in on a little secret, which is I believe in a quick, inexpensive, fast test. Before you launch a new product, or service, or a new business, or pivot your career, test it. So what I did is I asked a friend who had previously interviewed me to Tony Robbins coaches. His name is Mark Von Buser. He's not with Tony Robbins anymore. He's on to something else. To interview me in front of the Tony Robbins coaches. And I gave him questions to ask about marketing, because he's like, oh yeah, I'd love to hear about marketing from you. I know you've launched a bunch of businesses. So we had basically a 1-hour interview, kind of like what we're doing right here. And I thought, well, I liked the content, and I transcribed it, edited it a little bit, and turned it into a PDF. And I immediately used that PDF to test if people were interested in getting my help with marketing messaging, possibly writing a book. That little PDF actually attracted 2 TV interviews. That was a TV station I've been on before on a different topic, but that was pretty good. And when it launched as a little book, I offered it to people for free. And then they got a video sequence, but they got the Marketing Fast Track book for free. They paid the shipping and handling, but they got the softcover book for free. And that generated $250,000 of new business in 90 days. So there's an example for the experts who are listening to this, who are, doctors or lawyers or accountants or professionals who have some kind of expertise. Amazon is the number 3 search engine. If you're not sharing your expertise on Amazon, you're basically missing a huge traffic source around the globe of people who could find you. And even if it's a little short book, you could interview yourself, or you could work with somebody like me and I could interview you and help you turn it into a book. Most people have no problem talking about their area of expertise. And that book could be a very powerful lead magnet, bringing your ideal clients to you.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of answered. I was gonna ask, are books dead? And this kind of idea, because once like John Grisham or Michael Crichton or J.K. Rowling became very famous through that one book, you started to see a proliferation of books. Kind of why are you writing fiction now as opposed to nonfiction books?
Well, I'm writing fantasy books for young adults because when I was 9 years old, I actually remember the moment on my tippy toes in the school library, reaching up for the last book in the Narnia series. And as my fingers touched the spine of that book, which is called The Last Battle, I felt a chill through my whole body. And I felt excitement that I was going to get to read another book in this wonderful Narnia series by C.S. Lewis. But I also felt anticipatory grief because it was the last book in the Narnia series. And in that moment, as a 9-year-old, I realized that writers are like wizards. With just black ink on white paper, we can transport the reader to another place in time. It's like a portal that opens, and we can even transport them to a place that doesn't even exist except in our imagination. So I couldn't think of anything being more marvelous than that. So I decided, as a little 9-year-old me, that I would do everything I could to become a great writer like C.S. Lewis. And then when COVID hit, I was like, okay, Aurora, you've written all these nonfiction books. You're great at launching businesses, but are you going to honor the dreams of the 9-year-old you? So I decided to honor my dreams, and this is the first book, Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse. It won the Reader's Choice Award Best Book for Teens, and I had a beautiful cover there, and it's got a bunch of other awards. Yep. And then the second book in that series is The Secret Multiverse Academy, and it also won an award. And that's the second book in the Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse series. And the third one is coming out on Kickstarter. So go follow me on Kickstarter, and you'll be informed. It's free to follow on Kickstarter. It just lets you know what's going on. So that was my passion project. And here's the thing, Christopher. I thought if I could inspire one kid to love reading like I loved reading, it would be so worthwhile. Because I can't think of a better gift to give a person than a love of reading. It can change your whole life,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's something magical about holding a book and just kind of just where the words just transform your view, or give you a new idea, or it's very magical.
It is magical. And if you come to realize that, I mean, books are the best investment. For about $20, you can get, a decade of a person's expertise, or you can get, many hours of entertainment reading a fiction book. Such a great, useful, and it's useful not only for the reader, but for the writer. Like one thing I've learned as the founder of Same Page Publishing is that most people think the process of writing a book is about the benefit of having the book at the end. And yes, it's wonderful to have a book at the end. But as you think about the things that are most important to you, you think about what do you stand for, where do you want your life to go, what have been the meaningful mentors or the breakthrough experiences, what were the most painful business losses that you had, and what did you learn, what were the high points in your life. Like you go through and you harvest the gold from your own life experience as you're seeking to serve others with it, but you really become more clear as a human being. I wonder if you found this writing your books, if the process of writing helped you really claim those pivotal moments in your life more clearly and claim what you learned.
Mm. Yeah, that well, it really helps with just kind of clarifying my thinking, and just kind of when you can put it concisely in words on a book, and it helps clarify your thoughts, and like you were saying, just kind of solidifies those moments that really were impactful or insightful, or just really shaped who you were, how you thought. um,
Exactly. Exactly
yeah.
right. And so
um,
that stays with you ever after. You become more self-actualized, more clear, more vibrantly claiming your sound bites as well. And that's the main way we can all make a difference. I mean, one of the things I'd love to share is I think everybody who wants to make a difference, everybody who's a leader, everybody who's an entrepreneur, everybody who's an expert, we all need to lean into becoming better communicators. And it's not just for authors and celebrities and podcast hosts. It's for everybody. It's the highest leverage use of your time to become a better communicator. And it doesn't just happen without practice, without learning about neuroscience, without practicing communicating. And one startling statistic I want to share with you and the listeners and watchers is that the value of adding a story to the identical product or service is shocking. It's shocking. And if you're neglecting that, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So here's a book. You can source the book. It's called Significant Objects. And what they did is they put 100 distinct objects on eBay, either with a story or without a story. And the stories were written by 100 different people. They weren't professional authors, and they merely added significance. They didn't add hype, or they didn't add anything to what you would get when you bought the thing on eBay. So an example would be, these pot mitts are for sale. They used to be my grandmother's. She's passed on now, but I remember she'd use these pot mitts when I came home from school, and she'd pull out chocolate chip cookies, and we'd chat. So the stories would be like that. They added significance. They added meaning. So how much more do you think the things sold on eBay with a story versus the same identical object without a story?
I'm sure it was very significant, with stories, because when people have these narratives or attachments, there's this emotional bonding connection.
Exactly right. So most people would guess maybe 50% more or maybe even double, but it's 27 times more.
Oh,
So
wow.
27 times more. So what this means is whether you're a leader in your family or in your community or in your business or you're a manager or whether you're a podcast host or an author, it behooves you to take some time to think and create and practice the stories that go with the messages that you'd like to share, because those stories people remember, people will repeat, people are meaning seeking beings. So, for example, I was skiing yesterday with my brother Calvin, and he told me a very quick story. He's like, I think it's a Japanese or Chinese koan or something, but I forget the exact source. Anyway, source was my brother as far as I'm concerned. So he said, when you get to the point of life where you plant a tree knowing that you will never harvest its fruit or sit under its shade, that is when you have begun to understand the meaning of life. So that's like a little short story, but it's so clear, and it speaks to leaving a legacy. It speaks to doing something to benefit others. It speaks to doing so without any selfishness, but also that there is value in that and leaning into the legacy that we can all leave with our words or with the trees that we plant.
Hmm. Well, I have one question is, how are authors using Kickstarter? I know, they're using Amazon, but how do you use Kickstarter to promote your book?
Oh yeah, Kickstarter is so fun. So Kickstarter is a free platform. Most people think it's GoFundMe or something like that. So Kickstarter is not a platform where you beg people for money because you have a worthy cause. Kickstarter is a platform where a new creative project like this book, Magic Mystery in the Multiverse, so it's only for new and creative projects, but it's not only for books. It can be for any kind of tech gadget. I bought some backpacks on Kickstarter recently because they're really cool and had a new design. And what you do is you put your new book in this case on Kickstarter, and you let people know about it. So I did a Kickstarter for my second book in the series recently, The Secret Multiverse Academy, and people would get something special. So Kickstarter backers like to get autographed books or hardcover books or special things that aren't going to be available anywhere else ever. So, for example, this cup. So we had cups, coffee cups, not available anywhere else, right? So Kickstarter can be really fun. And Michael Stockham did a Kickstarter recently for Jake Fox, Ties That Blind, and that gave people an opportunity to get hardcover autographed books from him, which is lovely. And so Kickstarter, remember back in the day, 20 years ago, when a new book would come out and it would be first released in the hardcover, and it was like
Mhm.
a big deal, and everybody else had to wait a year or something to get the soft cover at a lower price. Nowadays, they don't seem to launch hardcover books that way anymore. So Kickstarter is a way to get that first window for your super fans to get the book with your autographed, with maybe numbered, like special foil printing or all kinds of special add-ons like the coffee cup I just showed you, and really connect more with the author. So I'm really excited about Kickstarter. I recommend that people go to Kickstarter right now and check it out. You can search for
Yeah.
Aurora Winter and you'll see my fantasy series. But it's a really fun way to support creative people. And if you're thinking of writing a book, it might be the first window that you'd like to offer your book. So, for example, I'm working with a client on some health books. Oh, you'd be interested in this with your health expertise. It's called the Vitality Solution, and she's got a business in the health arena. But we're considering launching it first on Kickstarter because Kickstarter, you can also have add ons like John Lee Dumas recently launched a workbook, a fill in the blank workbook, which he made about $500,000 from because he wasn't just selling the workbook, which was beautifully bound, but he also offered an event or a group Zoom call or come and spend a VIP day with him or come and be on his podcast or he'll come and speak at your event. And so all of those things added up. There were tiers up to $10,000.
Mm,
So Kickstarter is a fun way to use your book, but then also you can offer other things that you're doing. So I highly
mm,
recommend if you're into innovative marketing, check out Kickstarter.
mm. And how is it different than Patreon?
Oh, Patreon is a way of building a community and adding an additional layer of connection.
Mm.
So I don't know, do you have a Patreon community yourself?
I do not. I mean, I'm building one, but I haven't monetized it yet.
Right. So you could add a Patreon membership as one of the reward tiers, for example, to your Kickstarter. But Patreon is usually a modest investment, say a cup of coffee, value of a black cup of coffee a month. Then it gives you, it's a way of supporting an author or podcaster that you like.
Mm,
And usually you get extra bonus goodies that aren't available to the general public. Kickstarter is more of a high value one off, whereas Patreon is a modest, usually ongoing monthly investment. So, for example, the average investment on my recent Kickstarter was $82.
mm.
People aren't spending $82 for a book, right? They're getting all these extra goodies.
Yeah.
But Patreon, I believe it's more like a couple of bucks a month people would invest, but then they might stick around for years. So,
Wow. Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think, anybody who's listening to this who's interested in becoming an author or taking their book that they've already published to the next level, now that they can see that there's more that can be done with them, they can sign up for a business breakthrough call with me. It's at bookcall.biz, or they can go to samepagepublishing.com and they can see all the clients that I've helped. They can sign up for that business breakthrough call. But there's the gift. So I want to urge people, this show is very short, but you can get the whole value of Turn Words into Wealth. You can get the free ebook if you go to turnwordsintowealth.com or samepagepublishing.com, and you just, in exchange for your email and permission to contact you and develop a relationship with you, you can get a whole free book that you can take action on and turn words into wealth.
Wow, fascinating. I really enjoyed this conversation, and for the audience listening, or all the resources will be in the show notes. And thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Really great connecting with you.